power of the internet brings us back together yet once again, people. How are you? It is EC Radio. We are live on all Disruption Network social media platforms. You can follow us along on Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, Facebook, and, of course, over on YouTube. Before we get into anything, much love to my sponsors. Shout out to Eddie Alsheimer and his crew at EJA Moving Services, the professional movers. When it's time to move and relocate, hit up Eddie today at 315-335-0516 or hit him up at ejamoving.com. They'll move you pretty much wherever you need to go. So just hit him up and he'll bring you there. He's a logistics guy. He'll move anything, and I mean anything. So if you got like a Bowflex or a studio or a big old couch or a grand piano, Eddie and his crew will move it for you. 315-335-0516. Also, shout out to my attorney, Dave Longaretto, who's been keeping me out of trouble since like 1997. Big ups to Dave and his crew over there. Give him a call today if you need legal advice. 315-735-6162. Big ups to my friends over at Utica Coffee. Today we're drinking a mix of things. I've got a combination of like Utica Buzz, the house blend, and that Costa Rica that I love so much. And let me tell you, I like when I mix it up a little bit. What are you thinking, Justin?
You know, I agree, and I think that you should call Frank up on the phone and be like, I came up with a new blend, and I think you should name it the Disruption Blend.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
You know
I love
what
it.
I'm saying, right?
Put a little label on it.
Exactly.
I love it. We'll do our local Music Monday blend, I think.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
So I can put that beautiful
drink this every
facia
day.
of
Are you
yours on
kidding
the cover of it.
Oh, God, no, you don't want my face on there.
Also, much love to my friends over at the Saranac Brewery. Give them a shout today, too. You can go over to their brewery and check out all the awesome beer that they have. They've got some cool merchandise as well, saranac.com. And we're missing the brewery right now this year.
Yeah.
Wasn't it a shame not to have Saranac Thursday?
Yeah, and you know what I just found out, too? That they're brewing that new long drink that came out. Have you heard about that?
No.
It's like the national drink of Finland. And it came out after they had the World's Fair or like one of the Winter Olympic Games or something like that, and they needed something quick, and so they did like it almost tastes like an alcoholic Fresca. It's like a grapefruit, like you know, but it's made with gin, and they're actually making it over at the brewery. And the guys that work there say it's the most incredible smell when they're brewing it because it's like all the juniper berries and everything going up, and it's like absolutely incredible. So
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it's definitely very cool.
Nice, man.
They had another news story that just came out. They're starting to brew Schaefer beer.
Yes.
Did
Really?
You see that? At
Yeah.
No.
Utica Club Brewery.
Yep.
Schaefer is the one beer to have when you're having more than one.
Yep.
See, you didn't join in with me, man. You left me hanging.
I don't know that one, to believe
Oh
it or
my
not.
God, that's an old jingle, a classic.
A classic.
Schaefer beer.
Yeah,
Speaking
I've
of
already had
classic, you're a classic, Jerry Kraus.
I don't know about that.
Yes, you are, my friend. It's great to see you. It is Local Music Monday. Today we're talking local music, and today we're digging into the archives, Justin.
Yes, we are.
And Jerry brought some. You brought some props with you, if you will.
Brought some music, brought some photos, just to kind of set the stage here, set the mood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm realizing we should have came here like an hour and a half ago just so we could like just look at this
Dig
stuff,
in.
like really dig in and talk about it before we came on because I think this is going to be another 2 or 3 parter.
That's fine.
Which I'm totally fine with.
That's fine.
I hope you're okay with that.
I'm okay, but I have a stipulation. We got to do golf either before or after.
I'm down with that.
I know. I'm sorry.
been talking about this.
I know forever.
So this is now, at least it's step one. Okay, we're together.
We're together. We made it together.
We did too. I did call him. I'm like, come on, Jerry wants to golf with us.
Yeah.
But, man, the schedule's been a little. It's good to get back to like a normal routine finally. A little
Yes.
bit. I mean, I'm not back to full swing by any
Right.
means, but I mean, just a little bit sense of normalcy has been feeling pretty good. I mean, you've been gigging, right?
I've been gigging like crazy. After this week, it's going to start slowing down again a bit. But you know, there was one point that I did 2 or 3 weeks, like 4 or 5 gigs in a row. So it was like I was right back to normal.
Outside?
Yeah, most of them are outside. I do a couple of indoor gigs, like Brian down at Fratello's in Frankfurt. He
Mondays,
has live music every night of the week.
Wow.
And except for Sundays. And but he does
cool.
live music every night of the week, and he's got a single or a duo act, and like the trio's playing there this Friday. So I mean, it's he's doing a lot there, but he practices all the social distancing. The SLAs come in there and they've looked the place over and said you're doing a great job, and so he's following everything the way he should. Which is it works out for us because I mean we got a gig once a month.
Nice.
So, but yeah, we have to golf, and if Lenny Milano would stop working me till I pass out, then I'll be able to golf.
Bring him along.
I know.
He could play.
Oh, yeah, he can.
He could play.
Yep.
For
My
sure.
old high school buddy, and Timmy Bullard, too, who we were talking about a little while ago.
You went to high school with Milano?
Yeah.
Did you? Wow.
Whitesboro Warriors.
Did he have the same hairdo going back then too?
Yeah.
He did.
He looks the same.
He looks exactly the
I
same.
mean, the guy. I mean, he's got the fountain of youth going on.
Oh yeah.
He's another one we need to get on for Local Music Monday.
Oh,
Well,
you should.
I already told him. I talked to him today because I worked with him today, and he said he goes, "Oh yeah, so I got obviously I don't have a lot of time now. Once I get some of these projects done, that I'll have to come down. Is he still in the studio? Not the one that he used to be in, but the different one there. yeah, he's there. And I told him I go Lenny, I go with the amount of stories you tell, we're gonna have to do like 6 parts or like 8 hours worth of film footage. It's gonna be crazy.
Oh man, that would be a great episode. I'm looking forward to that. And we were talking about doing a couple episodes. We had to do one with Bob Aquaviva.
Oh,
Yep.
of course.
And this is a good way to actually kick off this Local Music Monday. Talking about Bob, who is a local legend in our eyes. Now, Jerry, we talked with Bob about having a Local Music Hall of Fame. And I think Bob would go on the first ballot. But off the top of your head, can you think of some nominees you'd put into the first ballot?
Putting me on the spot here.
Yeah.
First ballot would be huge. The first class would be huge.
What's the range? Just Central New York, or what?
Keep it Utica.
Keep it Utica.
Yeah, because Syracuse already has a Hall of
Syracuse
Fame.
has got the Sammys and all that stuff, and Utica doesn't have anything like that. It's very hard for us to get a
We were just looking at some of the early guys that we put on some of the albums and the CDs I brought in. Oh my gosh, there's just the local guys. Well, you got Monk Rowe, Carmen Carmonica, like the legends, the guys that have been around for a long, long time. Lenny would be certainly considered.
Yeah, he started gigging
How
in
about
'72.
the Sistai Boys? They've been playing for a long time. Paul Case would come into play there. There's just so many. I'm starting to think of a little bit more globally with the Todd Hobins and the guys from Alex Starr, but those were Syracuse guys too, and the 805s and some of that stuff. But around here, we had a ton of local guys and girls that did such a great job with music. I mean, the clubs, the activity back, you could probably Google some of the old entertainment sections of the OD. There was great entertainment, even from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, right through. And some of those musicians were just so good at their craft. Carmen Carmonica will tell you about how he went out with Lou Rawls.
Yeah.
And, there's others from this area that have gone out to greater things. Maybe that would be a good place to start. Where are they now?
Right. I think for my take on the Hall of Fame is I think that there's a lot of guys that played in different bands. So I think instead of, maybe you could do like a lifetime, a lifetime achievement award for like single guys, but like you'd have to do like a Hall of Fame class with the bands, or if the guy only played as a solo artist, and like there's so many bands. I mean, like we were just talking about how many bands Lenny played in on that CD. Like you can look through the CD, there's like 15 bands, and Lenny's the drummer on all of them, and it's like so I would definitely put Lenny in that class, and Pauline Gerosa, Frogs.
Pauline Gerosa, the Frogs.
Yep.
Brian Marcantonio. You got the duo of Holmes and Mancini.
Oh, God, yeah.
Danny Holmes and Rich Mancini. They were so busy playing all the clubs. They played weddings. They were doing, just gigs all over the place.
Yeah.
And we had them in a reunion at the Stanley a few years ago, and it was so great to hear them back together again.
I missed that gig. I was so mad.
With Plastic Soul, right? Isn't that the gig with Plastic Soul? So you had John Liebing and Mark Barnes and John Smales doing the 3-piece Plastic Soul Beatles tribute, which I remember over at the Electric Company coming in and getting up on stage and introducing one or two of their sets when we did a radio night with them over there. And we just had a blast. It was a fundraiser for some charity, and we had a blast.
Was it Cancer Society?
Could be.
Yeah, they did that whole thing where Joey Triz did the he did like a little interview with him in the back. It was that
concert series for life.
Concert series for life. That's what it was.
It was for the Cancer Society.
But that was over at your club. I remember that. It was great.
Was there a local band when you first came up on the scene that you were obsessed with?
I don't know about obsessed. I'd go
That
definitely.
you would frequent a lot.
Yeah. Well, when I was growing up, we'd go to 4 Acres, and we'd see not only the big bands, they would bring in like the regional bands coming through, but the local bands. Kid, my buddy Greg Draze's band, KIDD. They did with Doug Lazarick and Tommy Gadara and Jerry Ruddy on drums. Oh my God, it was a 4-piece band. Bad Company, BTO, Kiss, just all the power rock stuff. It was great, and we'd see them at 4 Acres, and they play clubs all over the place.
Yeah.
They were cool. But then, of course, when you heard, that Todd Hoban was coming through, and Alex Starr and New York Flyers, and some of those guys coming through, we'd go up there and check them out. Frogs. It was always a great show to see the Frogs. 4 Acres, the Oasis up in Westmoreland. And then when I got into radio and I got back down into town to start interviewing some of these big bands and introducing them on stage, the first one I introduced, I mean, who knew that this kid, Johnny Cougar, was going to be a superstar, right? I go to 4 Acres. They say, from the radio station, this will be your gig. Go and introduce him for the radio part of the broadcast and the recording. I'm like, okay. I've heard the other ones that the guys were doing at the radio station. I said, yeah, I'll pop in and I'll go up on stage and do that. So you talk to them ahead of time. There was a local band probably opening up. I forget who. And you talk to John and his tour manager, whoever, saying, okay, how do you want to be introduced? Riva Records recording artist before he actually signed with that label got swallowed up by the next big label. And it was, Johnny Cougar. Later on in the show, he's introducing his band. He says, hey, I'm Johnny Cougar, and this is my band, The Zone. So who knew, right? So it was John Cougar in The Zone. But he hated that name. He hated Johnny Cougar, didn't like it. And then eventually, he switched to John Cougar Mellencamp, and then the Cougar was gone. He was just John Mellencamp. And we had him at the Stanley a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I got him a CD recording of that show from 4 Acres.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I had the manager. The manager was going to bring it to him because we didn't get a chance to see John. John came right off the bus, came out on the stage, didn't even do the rehearsal, I don't think. And everything was right through the back door with security, did the show, and they told us, after he's done, he's not coming back for an encore. He's going right back to his tour bus. And he had a small little bus that he hadn't. The other guys were in the bigger buses, and it was quite the show. Sold out. It was a great show. I mean, I thought it was one of the highlights of my era at the Stanley for 6 years was that John Mellencamp show.
Oh, you've had a few over there.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's been some good ones. I mean, the REO show was big. Michael McDonald was big.
Thank
America
you for that, by the way.
Big. Yeah, you guys opened up.
Just me.
You opened up, but
Yeah,
you
Sean
and Big Sexy opened up for who?
the Eagles tribute band.
Oh, the Eagles tribute band.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got to open up for REO Speedwagon by myself. I got to eat. I got to eat dinner with all them.
That's right.
And
weren't they the greatest guys?
They were awesome, and I was scared to death. I'm pacing because I'm getting ready to go on. I got to play 20 minutes of my own music, which they hate us to REO, not me, and I'm just like I was so nervous. And Kevin Cronin from REO, he sees me pacing. He goes, "Hey, man." I go, hey, how you doing? And I had already talked to him, so I wasn't like, But I'm like, yeah, I'm just a little nervous, just trying to walk it out. And he's like, let me tell you, he goes, we really appreciate you coming and open up for us. He says, we like to give the local, talent a chance to open for us wherever we go. He said, and the reason behind that was when I was a young kid and I was coming up in the business. A guy by the name of Glenn Fry gave me that same opportunity, which I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just it's the stories these guys. I got like a rig rundown. You ever see the rig rundowns of these guys' rigs, like the guitar rigs and stuff? Premier Guitar does them, but they literally go back and the guitarist from REO had like the old style, like racks full of amps and like effects. All in the racks like that. The guitar tech had a rug at the bottom that said "Go away," and like it was like so like. And he took me right through his whole rig and showed me how everything worked, how everything was routed, and I was just like, this can't even be real. Like it's not even real. But that particular gig. I don't know if you were backstage to see this part, but nobody was drinking. They obviously they're all not sober, but they don't drink and party hard like they used to. So, right. I go out and watch most of the show, and I knew that the second to last song that I wanted to see him come off stage. So I told my wife, I said I'm going to go backstage. So backstage I go, and this guy, their stage manager, is like running to get like this road case and brings it out and like sets it in the middle of side stage, right? And I'm like, okay, that's weird. And like they're playing, and he goes over and out of the cooler he pulls one Bud Light and he's got solo cups and he lines the solo cups up around this road case and literally pours this much beer in each of the solo cups, right? Now they got an encore to do after they come off. So all of a sudden they're coming off, they're running, they're like, yeah, running. They hit that side stage where nobody can see them anymore, and they're like crippled old men, and they're just like, oh my God. And they couldn't get to the beer fast enough. They grabbed the beer and they're like
shots of beer.
Yeah, and they're like this. They're like, okay, you guys ready? And they like hit the side stage where people could see them again, and they're like, hey. And I was dying. I'm like, that's so crazy. I mean, they leave it all on the floor every time they play.
That's one of the bands. So. Styx was another band like this. They came out, and it was like you're watching them from 20 years ago.
Yeah,
right.
REO actually played at Mohawk Valley Community College in the gym when I was still in high school.
Oh, cool.
The second album was out, and nobody knew them. But we had listened to them, so we had our gang. We went over and watched them. So when they came to the Stanley, and I had to pick them up, I had some memories of that to bounce off them, and I also had a fold-out poster that we gave away in Syracuse when they played the auditorium out in Syracuse, way back, and we had some pictures from the Utica Odd where they played with Richard Marx. So when they get in the car, I had to go down to now the Delta, the Radisson, pick them up and just bring them up to the Stanley. The mayor gave them proclamation in the lobby, so I ran them back and forth. And when they got in, I said, "Wow, you guys got a lot of history in this area. Let me refresh your memories." And I talked about this MVCC show, the Stanley show with the fold-out poster. I had one of the posters.
Oh, wow!
And I got a picture of them backstage opening up the poster, and I'm in the background with the guys in the band. And, it's a walk down memory lane for them. They go from town to town to town, and I'm sure they wake up on the tour bus saying, "Where are we again?
Yeah.
What day is it?" So to bring them kind of back into grounding them into this area, I really wanted to make sure that they knew Central New York had a history with them, and they had a ton of fans here. And it was, a sold-out night and a great night, and they're all happy. They're happy guys.
Yeah, absolutely. You said that they probably didn't know where they were getting off the tour bus and everything. On one of their set lists, they had used the same set list that they had the night before, so it had the night before city on it, and it's literally crossed out in a Sharpie, and it big letters, the guy in his own handwriting, "You're in Utica, stupid." Like that, you know.
Want to say, "Hey, hello, Harrisburg."
Yeah, exactly. So literally on the set list, he hand wrote it out. That he was in Utica, and I thought that was neat. But
hilarious. I'll tell you, Jerry was the king of hospitality when it came to the Stanley.
Oh yeah.
So this one time he tells me, he goes, "Hey, I want you to go pick up the guys from America at the airport."
Oh yeah.
And he let me use his car, and not only that, but he had all these treats lined up for him. He had a cooler full of beer and soda from Saranac and a tomato pie and just like all these snacks, and I go, and I think it was just the one guy. It was Dewey, and I pick him up, and I got the sign, and he comes over. "I'm your guy." He gets back into the car, and he's got all these treats. He's like, "Nobody ever has treats for us and a thing like this." And we got talking all the way back, and come to find out he's Humphreys McGee fan. I'm like,
"Oh, cool."
So we get talking about the Humphreys and stuff. I mean, he was just such a cool guy.
Yeah.
And Jerry set the tone of that whole conversation just by having treats and showing that he's appreciated. Yeah, it was all Utica stuff for him.
So that day of the concert, I'm in the box office with Steve, and we're getting ready for the show. The show's that night, so we're just getting all set up, getting the reports ready for the tickets, and we're all psyched. And all of a sudden, in the vestibule, coming in the main doors, I see a guy just walk in looking around, and you know how beautiful it is to look around in the entryway for the Stanley.
Sure.
And I'm looking at the guy, I said, to Steve, I said, "That's one of the guys from America." So I walked around the corner out of the box office. I introduced myself, and sure enough, it was Jerry Beckley. And I said, "Excuse me, are you one of the guys in America playing here tonight?" He goes, "I am." I said, "Well," and I introduced myself. I said, "Let me show you around." He said, "We love these theaters that you wouldn't believe. We just get such a kick out of taking pictures and chronicling where we go across America, these beautiful theaters. Thank God there's theaters like this still left." And he was taking pictures and walking around, and he said, "We walk up and down usually when we get to towns just to get a feel for the architecture and stuff." He goes, "You guys got some beautiful architecture here in Utica." And they were just walking around downtown area. And when they played the show that night, and of course, you know how it is, we're running around doing this, that, and the other thing. I sat down in the audience for just a few of the songs. I wanted to catch some of the songs. And he came out, and they marveled at, again, looking around the theater, and they said, "You people are lucky. Not every city has a theater like the Stanley Theater you guys here." And he looked at the other guy and said, "I think this is the most beautiful theater we've ever played in." I'm looking around, I said, "I hope somebody recorded that."
I know, right?
You get that a lot, too, with these traveling artists coming through.
Right, right.
This place is amazing.
Tony Bennett, he had a lot of nice things to say about it. He actually sang a song without a microphone just to prove to the audience that the acoustics were built for sound to carry throughout the whole theater. So no matter where you sat, you could hear the performers on stage.
Yep.
Interesting. If anybody knows, Tony Bennett would know.
He left his heart in Utica, New York.
You know, earlier you mentioned 4 Acres, and like that's
Yeah.
such a legendary place. I hear of, you know, my mom talks about it, my uncles, like relatives talk about what a legendary place it was. What were some of the acts that came through? Because there was just so many that came through that have gone on to do huge things that played right here in our backyard. Is that considered Marcy or Deerfield or?
It's River Road in Marcy.
It is
It's
Marcy,
now
yeah.
a dance studio,
right? Yeah.
But Eddie Money played there, first album. John Cougar, as I mentioned.
He made a list. I love
Elvis Costello. I had to do a little homework because I got a few other things we're going to talk about here. Head East played there.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
Benny Mardones played there. First album, Thank God for Girls. And there was a band called Blackjack that played there. And music aficionados may remember Blackjack because they had a couple of guys that later went on. Michael Bolton, with the extra O in there, was Michael Bolton was singing in that band. He was a rock singer.
Oh, wow.
He actually had some solo Michael Bolton rock albums before he went ballads.
Wow.
And Bruce Kulick was the guitar player in that band, later went on to play with Kiss. And he would return to Utica after the 4 Acres show with Blackjack to play guitar for the Good Rats at Hot Rocks, which is where Captain Trips eventually became on Genesee Street in South Utica. And he remembered the show. I said, hey, Bruce, you were here a few years ago at a club called 4 Acres with Blackjack. He went over, picked up his guitar in the rehearsal draped area and started playing one of the Blackjack songs. He said, I remembered when we came off the thruway for this gig. He said, I know I've been here before.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention about the clubbing back in the day. So we're talking about, we've mentioned, you know, mostly a lot of 70s, 80s. The drinking age being changed had a lot to do with the crowds coming out. And I didn't know offhand myself, with the facts at the top of my mind, when did the drinking age change? So it happened in 1982. It went from 18 years old to drink to 19. And then in 1985, it switched from 19 to 21. So that cut down on a lot of the crowds going into some of the bars. Of course, in Utica, you had Milo's down in the valley, Rustic Inn, Palmer House. We did a lot of stuff there. Also down in the valley, the Loft in Middleville.
Oh, yeah.
The story about them is the Police played there. And they made a reference to it in Rolling Stone magazine a few months later, saying it was a snowy night. There weren't many people there. It was a Monday night, and they played the Loft in Middleville, and they said more people were congregated around the bar watching the football as opposed to watching them on stage.
Wow. I wanted to say that was a Chuck Cheo show because he was the very first promoter to bring the Police into the area.
They did a Syracuse show, I think a place called the Fire Barn Tavern in Syracuse as well. So this was one of the stops. It could very well have been Chuck.
That was their first tour over here. Yeah.
And there was another Valley place, the Cast Bridge Inn.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yes, I do.
We used to go with some of the Utica Comets hockey guys. They'd say, Doc, because I'd have them up for interviews. They're like, Doc, you know, where's the live bands? What's going on? So I'd take them out there after a game. We'd go out there to see like the Pink Floyd tribute band and stuff. And these guys were getting into it. It's great.
Yeah.
You know, again, they're down to earth guys, but just playing hockey for the Utica Comets at the time. Or the Utica Devils, excuse me.
Utica Devils, yeah.
Did I say Comet? I meant the Utica Devils back in that era. So we'd all go up, Cast Bridge Inn and go rock out with some of the bands. Of course, in Utica, you had the Devereaux, always music at the Devereaux and Captain Trips. Out in Rome, Coleman's in Rome. Norm Coleman, and we had so many big bands out there. Stevie Ray Vaughan played out there.
Wow.
Zebra, Molly Hatchet, Pat Travers, Mark Farner from Grand Funk, Casa Bogey in Rome. Another big
Casa Bogey,
another big place. We did bands like Johnny Van Zant played there. You know, later went on to be the lead man in Skinnerd. The Henry Paul Band, Greg Kinn, Tommy Two-Tone, and you remember that one-hit wonder, Jenny, and the Winters Brothers, a Southern band, not to be confused with Edgar and Johnny Winters, the Winters Brothers band, and they played there, and that was always a big crowd pleaser out there. Captain Trips, Blue Oyster Cult with Al Schneer jumped up and played a song or two with them.
That's cool.
38 Special at Captain Trips, Rick Emmett from Triumph, and I'm sure you got a million others to add to Captain Trips.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So many.
Yeah. The legendary. In fact, you bring up Captain Trips. Today is his birthday, Vinny's birthday.
Vinny.
So he's been gone for 4 years.
4 years
believe it or
now?
not. It's already 4 years, but we definitely miss him. And he was absolute staple in the music community.
Yeah.
So yeah, that place was absolutely legendary. I'm glad you made that list. Thank you.
I got a list of Utica Odd shows, Stanley shows, and if you want to refer to some of them.
I grew up in the wrong decade, and that's all I got to say.
Well, in the 90s, too, you had what we used to call the Route 5 tour.
Yeah.
And if you remember, it was like Looney Tunes and the Blue Mule and Nothing Fancy and the Garden Cafe. And you had a lot of the bands, like you mentioned before we went on air, like Floating Noah, Granny Page was still Rattle Basket, Nine
Dan
Ball.
Austin,
Yep.
They were all up and down on the Route 5 tour. And then I don't know what happened. Like, it kind of, I think maybe the drinking thing, people stopped going out so much, or maybe stopped taking that route and maybe kind of hung out in the city.
They started to lose clubs. I started in '94 with Jose and Joe, and the clubs had started to close. We actually played a bar on Route 5 called the Sunrise Lounge in Schuyler.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? Yeah. And we opened up for a band called Silver City, and had a trumpet player and everything, and they kind of took us under their wing, and they bring us where they played to let us open up for. And it was always nice to see, because I mean, you could smoke inside too. So if you could see to the bar ever, it was usually because we were opening up, and people were there. So they'd see these three kids walk up on the stage, and they're like, "Oh, here we go!" Like this, you just see them just put their heads in their hands like this, and then we open up and we play like 50s and 60s music, and all of a sudden the people just jump out of their, there'd be like 5-6 people dancing because as we were opening up. But we play there. We play McGill's. We actually did a couple gigs with Rattle Basket at McGill's, and kind of got the tail end of the early '90s. The good acts from the early '90s. I never got to see Nine Ball. Toast was still around. You remember Toast?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was. They were still around, but
McGill's had music Wednesday through Saturday.
Oh yeah,
right?
they had music all the time.
Yep.
And if there wasn't live music, there was a DJ usually, always. But it's so funny driving by that place and seeing a Dollar General there now.
It is funny.
I swear, any building that gets torn down in the area gets replaced by a Dollar General, guaranteed.
Or pizzeria, right?
Yeah, but Mark Rendy did a lot for local music. We used to do big Super Bowl parties up there, too, at the radio station. How about field days back in the day?
Oh,
One that comes to mind, I'm thinking of Stittville field days. Legendary for big bands, big production. They had Benny out there, Benny Mardonis, Flyers. They had a band... Icewater Mansion. Remember them?
I do.
Big production.
Wow.
Great rock band.
And Stittville was on the map for rocking with those field days every summer.
Yeah, no doubt. All the acts that you've introduced throughout the years, Radioland and all that, have you ever got fanboyed out, like you couldn't talk to them or just got kind of nervous around?
Yeah, I'm always, when I'm walking into a place and I'm going to be introducing, at the Turning Stone, I used to introduce a lot of their shows and talk about upcoming bands and stuff. But I knew in advance going in, who it was going to be. But sometimes, just the caliber was to me, I can't believe it. I turn around and I'm introducing Steve Winwood for the show. And, I'm expecting not to even see him maybe until he walks out. And I walk around the corner backstage and he's got a flannel shirt on and he's tuning guitar and it's him. And it's just me and him. I'm like, okay, I'm going to just say hello and see where I go with this, you know. And I talked to him, just hello, and really nice guy. And, I wasn't interrupting him. I just said, geez, it's a real pleasure to get a chance to see you up close and personal and have a chance to introduce you and just listen to your music, what's coming up for the show tonight. And he had a new album he was working on or something, but it was going to be a lot of old Traffic stuff and just great. It was great, but really down to earth. And I think your buddy Steve Lukather was on that tour.
Oh, really?
And your buddy.
And he came around the corner. And I talked to him for a brief while.
Wow.
Yeah. So every now and then, you just don't know what you're going to get. I mean, when I introduced Kiss at the Utica Odd, you're going to see Kiss. And I was a fan of Kiss. And and here they come. Here's Gene Simmons, in all his, out there in your face energy. So you knew you were going to get that. But,
sure.
You walk away from it sometimes saying, wow, did that really just happen?
Right.
But there's been a lot. Phil Collins backstage at Syracuse War Memorial with Genesis, a big show.
Oh.
The guys from Pink Floyd at the Carrier Dome backstage. I get to talk to them a little bit. One thing I remember about that is the drummer Nick Mason and David Gilmour used to do off-road car racing. And when I went backstage and I saw them, I figured I'm going to bring that up to kind of take them away from, hey, how's the tour going? Hey, where you been on the tour? Just something different. I'm like, so how is your off-road car racing going? And they boom, beamed right up.
Yeah.
You know about that? Well, we just got done with this, and we're going to be going out here. And so you get into different things like that. Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull at the Utica Odd. I had read an interview that he was a fish farmer, and he liked riding his four-wheelers at his big farm. So we're talking about music and stuff, and then I said, so I understand you're a big fan of riding your four-wheelers and you have a fish farm. Well, yeah, let me tell you about it. And he starts going off and getting into it. You could tell they like to
they want to
do
talk
normal
about being
things,
home.
what they're doing, So it's something that every now and then I wish I had a cell phone back then to take these pictures and videos of the interviews. Wouldn't it be great to have for a scrapbook? But there are a bunch of pictures floating around, the still pictures from back in the day when you had somebody with the big camera with the strap around their neck and somebody would take a picture. But if we had our cell phones like we do now, boy, it would be great archives.
Is there any of those artists you maintain a relationship with?
Not really. No, not really. I used to stay in touch with Randy Bachman a little bit from BTO because they did a bunch of shows here, and we got to backstage in Rochester Silver Stadium. We did a busload out there, so we were talking backstage, having lunch, and then they did a show at Coleman's in Rome. It was going to happen, but they had a technical problem. So he said, he came on the air. He said, we have a technical issue over at the club, but I want to invite everybody that wanted to come to the show, come to the Landmark Theater. We're doing a show tomorrow in Syracuse. So we all went, and then I got to talk to him again. We took some pictures and just chatted and stuff. And I would go to see them when I could, and he would remember us, my brother and some of our friends that would go see him, and we're all big BTO fans, and that was a fun part of it. But some of the bigger guys, I knew it would be like just a flash in the pan, a shake hands,
right,
in and out, hello, and then introduce them, and off they go, and off I go. Yeah, but the guys from America, they're real personable, and I would like to see them again and stop back and say hi and say, hey, you remember the Stanley Theater, that most beautiful theater in the whole wide world?
Yeah. So you were talking about asking him if he fanboyed out with anybody. The actual first person I ever fanboyed out on was Jerry Kraus.
Oh, get out of here.
I'm not even kidding you, because
Really?
because and you probably don't know this, but single-handedly, you're the reason why I listened to classic rock growing up, because of the fact that every single morning, the earliest memory I have is every morning when I get out of bed, my dad always had like the big stereos that they had in the 80s. He always had it on. It was always on 96.9, and it was you were always on, and so like all the music he would play and go, and I listen to all this music, and I really got heavy into it from 3 to 5 when I started playing guitar. And in those 2 years, I just soaked up as much as I could. And fast forward to when I was like 10 or 11, and my parents go, we want to take you to see a concert. Who do you want to go see? And I said, I want to go see the Eagles. And they're like, the Eagles? They broke up like 2 years before you were born. And my whole world crashed down, because here I am thinking I'm waking up every morning listening to this guy introduce bands on the radio, and I thought it was all new music. I thought it was all brand new music. So all these bands I'm listening to don't even exist anymore. I can't go see any of them. And I'm like, oh God. And that's why I ended up hating the 80s so much. And I don't anymore, but I did at the time, because I'm like, this music sucks compared to all that stuff. You know what I mean? But no, the first time that I got to meet you, I kind of fanboyed out a little bit, because I was like, I get to meet the Doctor, and it was like, so like you single-handedly, showed me the music that I grew up with. So
well, I'm humbled to hear that. But we had a lot of great interaction with our listeners. And now you mentioned like your parents, then the kids, and then now even the grandkids, just listening to the great music. I mean, you can't beat it.
No.
I mean, when you start with the Beatles and the Stones and you work your way through just the Eagles you mentioned, the Zeppelin, the Pink Floyd, and everything that's spun out from those guys as influences, all the bands that took them as influences and did their own thing. It was just a beautiful thing to be in the middle of.
Sure.
To be in the heyday of classic rock. I started on the radio in '78.
It wasn't called classic rock back then.
It was rock.
It was rock, right?
It was rock, and then there was classical rock,
right,
or classical music, and then there was classic rock, and the music that we had. We were so lucky. We were so lucky to be in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, you've got to remember, we're playing albums vinyl albums. You know, we're walking in the studio, a wall full of albums, and there wasn't all this strict requirements. You have to do this song and this album and this. It was freewheeling, man.
Yeah.
We just got to go in there and take calls. We had calls, you know, calls would come in morning, noon, night, overnight, parties on the weekends. And, you know, hey, man, can you play this song? It's something special for us, this and that. And, of course, you take 5 minutes out and you slip that song in there for them, and you really made their day. And they had a connection now with the station and the DJ. And music makes the world go round.
Yeah.
You know. It's just unbelievable how a music song can take you from a sour mood and make your mood better, or just advance your good mood. You put on a great song and you're even feeling better. It's just, music has such a power, and to think that we have the ability as radio DJs and announcers and stuff to kind of channel that, and put that out in the airwaves where people are really digging it. You know, that was really part of the fun, and all the community stuff we used to do. I really used to enjoy everything. I used to say we cover it all from A to Z, from the American Heart Association to the Utica Zoo. We did fundraisers, food drives, clothing drives. We used to do a lot of that, and I really enjoyed doing that. You got to meet a lot of nice people in this area, doing a lot of nice work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
The unsung heroes.
Absolutely. Which there are a lot in Utica.
Yeah.
Very giving community for sure.
Oh my gosh.
When did that term classic rock start to be a thing?
I don't know. You know, you mentioned the Eagles and how they continued through after, you know, you got your first big wave, Beatles, Stones, Zeppelin, The Who, Pink Floyd. You got a big chunk of that. Then it came, you know, you got some of that California Southern fried rock with pop rock, Eagles and Allman Brothers and Marshall Tucker and Charlie Daniels and some of that going in. And then you come out and you got more of the polished, the 80s power rock, the Cinderella and the Dokken and the Aerosmith, you know, really pounding it then, and it was great. Yeah. There's another show at the Utica, Aerosmith and Dokken.
Oh, God.
Great one. Cinderella played there. You know, you get into that era. Rat and Poison played there, the old Rat Poison tour. Yeah. They played together. Motley Crue played there at the Utica Odd. Utica Odd had a lot of big shows.
My very first show was in my mother's womb at the Utica Odd. It was the Babies and Journey.
Oh, wow. That was a great show.
Yeah,
John
that was the
Waite
tour
with the Babies.
Yeah, the tour before Jonathan Cain, who was in the Babies at the time, they literally handpicked him right out of the Babies and had him join the band. Yeah. It was when Greg Rowley left the next year, and by the next tour, Jonathan Cain was playing with Journey.
There's a picture backstage, not with the Babies, but the guys all from Journey. A couple of us radio guys are there, and what I remember is they had cartons of chocolate milk on the table, where people might think they'd have cases of beer.
Sure.
Chocolate milk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many great shows at the Odd back then.
Shall I?
Yeah, go ahead, please do.
I did write down a few
love
of
the
them
list.
from my ticket stash. Rush. A story about Rush. Rush was supposed to play there with Sue Sad and the Next. Band that was coming up, a female singer, Sue Sad. I'm a prisoner. It was a kind of a one-hit wonder blast, but it was all over the radio. They couldn't make it. And at the last minute, we had to grab somebody, and we brought in the Fools from Ipswich, Massachusetts. It's a Night for Beautiful Girls, Psycho Chicken. All those songs, we brought them in.
What year was that? Was that like in Rush's heyday, moving pictures?
No. Maybe a couple years earlier. Want me guess? Maybe like 81, 82, somewhere in there, 83. ZZ Top played there. They brought cattle or something, as I remember, on stage in crates.
Yeah.
What?
Buffaloes or something up there.
Yeah, I watched a documentary with ZZ Top, and that's like they did all that crazy shit back then.
Nah. Doobie Brothers, we had to shut the doors. Utica Fire Marshal said, we're at capacity. It was 5,000 or whatever, because they had people standing on the floor, sitting in the seats. They actually shut the place down. I had to introduce them, and it was Michael McDonald.
Because that was right when Minute by Minute came out, that album, right? Which completely changed the whole thing for the Doobie Brothers. It was a totally different sound for them.
Yep. Bruce Springsteen played there late 70s, I think. Wow. There was a combo of Allman Brothers and Little Feat together.
Wow.
Just fun stories. We had band contestants from the radio contest meet the bands, and it was great. Van Halen opening for Ozzy. I think I remember that one. Imagine that. Van Halen's just coming out. Grateful Dead. Elvis almost played there in 1977. He died 3 days, I think, before the
My grandmother has the tickets still.
Yeah,
she does.
I got a couple at home.
That's crazy.
Yep.
We mentioned REO, the Cars, Bryan Adams, Boston. Boston played twice at the Utica Odd, right when the first album came out. First time a guy that used to open up a lot of shows. So much so we used to ask each other, "Who's opening up for this show coming up?" Bob Seger, and we'd be like, "Probably." And it was Bob Seger. He opened up for everybody because he had like 6 albums out or 4 albums out before he hit Night Moves.
Yeah.
So he would open up for a lot of shows. The other one, Sammy Hagar opened up for Boston. So Bob Seger opened one, Sammy Hagar opened one solo. Sammy.
How funny is that? Like, who's opening for this show? Bob Seger just being all like facetious about it.
How about Whitesnake? Whitesnake played twice there. One time opening up for Jethro Tull.
Wow.
And one time they headlined.
God, I grew up in the wrong decade.
They also played with Motley Crue that time too.
Yes.
Motley Crue and Whitesnake.
And David Coverdale brought Tawny Katan, the girl from the Whitesnake videos. His wife at the time brought her through. And I had a picture when David Coverdale was in the radio studio when he did the opening set for the Jethro Tull show, which was probably 3 or 4 years earlier. And I had it for him. I was going to show it to him, have him sign it. And he says, "Don't show this to Tawny." I'm like, "Why?" He says, "I look about 10 years older in that picture." I said, "Oh, okay, no problem." Kiss played
Bunch, right?
Yeah. Beach Boys, Willie Nelson, Bon Jovi getting the key to the city from then Mayor Lou LaPola at the time. Bon Jovi, before that show, came up to the studio. I think it was a Sunday. Nobody in the studio, nobody in the office. It was clear. And I had he was coming over. They were dropping him off at the studio. So I had to meet him at the elevator. Elevator door opens up. It's just me. It's just him on the elevator, and he's got a New York Giants football jacket on. I said, "Oh, yes, we are going to have some fun talking football." And we did. We talked football on the air for a little while. And of course, we talked about music and stuff, but they did the big sold-out show.
He's pretty cool.
Very cool guy.
Yeah.
Very cool guy. And then later, his daughter would come to Hamilton College for a semester or so. Alice Cooper played there. They mentioned Willie Nelson, Aerosmith, just a ton of bands.
Who has the attendance record? Is there like an attendance record out of all these shows?
Well, I know they shut down the doors for Doobie Brothers, but
Yeah.
I mean, they sold out a bunch of shows there, I'm going to guess. But the Dead probably sold out, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kiss too, right? Didn't Kiss
Probably.
at one time have like
Probably.
like 10,000 people were squeezed into the Everybody would, they would inflate the numbers a little bit too much.
Okay, here's a Gene Simmons story. So we're backstage talking to him. There's some winners. He's talking. He's got his full, this is before the show, full Kiss gear on. And he's standing there. And this must have been during hockey season because it was a bit chilly. Ice is down underneath the boards.
Yeah.
So he's standing, and we're off to the side in the walkway, and he's complaining every now and then, it's cold in here. And he's just rubbing his arms and talking to some of our contest winners, and they're taking some pictures. And he's like, boy, I'm going to go back in the dressing room and warm up. He probably did this on purpose. He turns around and walks away from us with the buttless chaps. Walking away from us, just going for the reaction, right? And like, no wonder you're cold.
Yeah, right.
Put some pants on.
Yeah, right. So funny. They were all nuts.
Oh, man. Some great memories, though, right there, huh? Do you ever just sit back? Because I know I struggle a little bit with sometimes. Like, you would hear a song that you grew up with, and then all of a sudden it's labeled as classic rock,
Yeah.
I struggle with that a little bit. Like, all of a sudden I'll hear Pearl Jam or Alice in Chains or something like that.
The first one for me was Nirvana. Smells Like Teen Spirit on 96.9. I'm like, what is this doing on 96.9?
Right.
This should not be happening.
Well, how about this? You tune into an oldie station, and there's some of the good old classic rock. I'm like, that's an oldie?
Yeah, right, yeah.
That must mean I'm an oldie. Wait a minute. What's going on here?
I think disco and punk had a lot to do with classic rock showing up too. You know what I mean? Like, because I think that like the good '70s music when it was out, like the tail end when the Eagles were coming in and stuff, it was like the end of that period. And then once disco hit, and then punk, and then the '80s, hair band stuff. I think when it like towards the late 80s, like when I first started listening to 96.9 is when people started to like wish for that kind of music back, like kind of like how we are now, where we're like, oh my god, what the hell are these kids listening to? The Ariana Grandes and like the the Nicki Minaj's and stuff. This is crap music. Why can't they just play good music like they used to? You know what I mean? And that's like really, and the Eagles, I think were Glenn Frey had a good solo career, Don Henley had a good solo career, and they promoted that music still when they were on tour. They still played that music, and that's when am I right there?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
you remember
how it
when
started to show back up on radio.
You remember when some of those songs would show up on like Miami Vice?
Yeah.
And some of the TV shows, it would kind of keep the glory going, the momentum going of some of those guys like Glenn Frey, Phil Collins, Dire Straits.
Yeah.
There were more than just albums on your turntable. It's music that's in TV and movies. It's become part of our fabric of our lifestyle. Yeah,
wow. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I want to go back and talk about some local bands because I know you brought in the Rock of
Central New York album 1.
And now,
2,
how many volumes did you do?
So there was 2 vinyl albums and then a double CD.
Oh, let's do this. Hang on. Can you see with the camera?
I
okay.
do it right up to hang on one second.
This?
I'll switch it right over. Okay, go ahead.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the first one. Now the radio station started in 73. I came on in 78.
Okay.
And that was out, I think, in 79. So I came in kind of just as a helper to help put that together. Jeff Chard and Tom Starr and Peter Hirsch, those guys really went out and kind of did the legwork on that. But I probably would have helped them suggest a couple of the bands to pick, which they probably already had on their list.
Right.
And that was the very first one. And you want to read who's on there?
Yeah, I'll read. This is side 1. We got Todd Hoban Band, New York Flyers, Out of the Blue, Crack, Tattoo, and the Frogs. That's side 1. Side 2, we have Alex Starr, Dean Brothers, the Alligators, Axe Handle, 805, and Open End.
Legendary bands right there.
Quite a wide variety, too, of different styles of music. You got rock music, you got a little bit of country rock, acoustic rock, and there's a little bit of everything there. Now, number 2. Now,
this is number 2.
I had more of a hand in putting this together.
Now, what year did this one come out?
This is probably like another year after that, maybe like 80, 81. If you pull, is that got a sleeve on the inside, Justin?
Let me check real quick. Yep.
Okay. Look what's in there.
Oh, wow.
So now, to again, try to make this a piece of Central New York music history, we gathered the photos of the bands, the credits of the bands, too. Who's playing drums, who's singing, who's playing guitar. And I wanted that to actually be a piece that people would hold on to even now in 2020, pulling it out 40 years later and saying, what was this music? Who were these guys? And say, oh, I remember that. So this is Rock of Central New York Volume 2.
I'll read these off.
So you might hear some of the same bands, but they're all different songs that we played.
Yeah, side 1 is Alex Starr, Mr. Ed, which was Monk Rowe and Greeley and all those guys. Yeah. Justice McBride, which is
the Sisters.
The Sisters. They were still around when I started coming in. Netherlands, which was John Liebing and his brother Kim.
Yep.
Mossback Mule Band. And the Works.
The Works Syracuse band.
And then side 2 is the New York Flyers. John Whitting and the Bandit Band. Kentucky. Danny Holmes and Rich Mancini. Holmes and Mancini. Dust Devil Band and Todd Hoban Band.
Nice.
Wow.
So that was Volume 2. Again, some of the same bands because they're just, the leaders of the pack. And then in 2007, I said, well, I really got to get a real definitive music compilation here. Not 1, but 2 CDs. This is the Rock of Central New York Volume 3. Yeah. Some of the same bands again. But again, all different songs. We didn't repeat any of the songs, but we kept some of the same bands in, and we added a lot more.
So here we got the Frogs.
All right, start with the year.
Oh, 1977. This is the Frogs. 78, Driving Sideways. Wasn't that
Paul Case?
Paul Case.
Dinger.
Ryan Quinn's father was in that band.
Yes, Mike Quinn played drums.
Yep, played drums. And, yeah. Oh, wow. 78 was Sale. 79, New York Flyers. 81, Benny Mardones.
He's an honorary Central New York.
Of course, because they loved him here.
Yeah.
They really did, and he loved them. So
he actually, I think, lived in Syracuse for a little bit too.
Yep.
Yeah, he did.
1982. There's 5 bands.
I often sometimes refer to that as the golden year of some of the classic rock Central New York bands.
New York bands.
1982.
Yep.
And can I interrupt for just 1 second? Because our good friend Genesee Joe, and I'm sorry to everybody that's been posting. I just opened up the comment line over here on Facebook. But Joe checks in and says in 1982 began the timeless rock format, which is renamed classic rock.
Exactly.
Back in 1982. Yep. Wow. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
What a year.
So five bands in 82. We got Alex Starr, 805, Night Watch, which was Jerry and Gina Crimmins, and Ricky Z and Pete Monzo. Yep, bass. Justice McBride Band. Once again, the Sisters. Todd Hoban. Alpha Centauri. Oh, this is 83 now. Starting 83, there's 3 bands. Alpha Centauri, Night Train, and Zen.
Night Train was Sammy Madonia, Mark Wachowski, and a bunch of guys. What are a good band, too.
Wachowski, he also had Dillinger, didn't he?
Yes.
Okay. 84, we got 3 bands. Orion the Hunter.
Oh, Franny Cosmo.
Yep. Luftwaffe, which was Bobby Aquaviva and Dave Slife, right?
Great rock band.
Yep. Wait, wasn't Tim Gillis the drummer?
Yes.
In Luftwaffe? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Ed. This is 84, yep. In 1985, we got Roger Wilco and the Radio Waves and Dillinger. And that's 85. Oh, we got 2 more rolling over to side 2, 805 and Betty Mardona's. Which 85, that was Christie. That was 805's big hit.
Came off a cassette that they put out.
Yep.
Remember 805 in 1982, let me just jump in.
Sure.
They got signed to a national record contract.
I was just going to ask.
RCA Records. And, of course, it did great up here in the Northeast. It didn't do so great across the country. And when it came time, I guess, they had to look at the roster, RCA, and said who we keeping, who we funding for the next album,
Sure.
and who are we going to cut loose. And I think it came down to Mr. Mister. They kept and they let 805 go.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
But they should have kept them both.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was there a reason why some of these national acts, some of these record labels wouldn't come to the area, or did they come to the area to do some scouting?
Boy, Todd Hoban tried so hard. Todd had a manager that would take the music to New York, take the music to L.A., take the music everywhere, and show the band's performances on video. And that was one band I thought should have got signed.
Sure.
There were so many artists like that got signed, and Todd just never really got that bolt of lightning. It's tough to say why. It was so good for 805 to get signed. Sale got signed to United Artists. They're on that.
Yep.
They're on. Some others came real close. I know a guy that I think is one of your sponsors here, Tim Moyer. His band got signed.
There it is again. Yes.
No?
No, you're right. No, we just have to give a shout out because his name did definitely. We didn't even have to wait for it this time.
Yeah.
It just came up.
I loved it.
I love it. This is great.
Way to
Sorry.
throw it out.
Sorry, I didn't
Ridley
mean that.
Page.
Yeah,
They got
Ridley
signed.
Page got signed. Yep. I think that was a Sony deal.
Sony deal. Yeah.
Yep.
They had a Sony deal. Yeah.
Okay, so now we got 1986 was Mere Mortals. That's another Bob Aquaviva band. 88, Danny Holmes. 91 was Taurus, which was that the 3 of them, that lineup, or was it all 5?
It was 5 of them then.
5 of them then?
'Cause Finelli
Okay.
was playing in that.
Finelli
band, so-
was playing then too, so
Yep.
okay. 1993, Blueprints.
George Devaney and those guys.
Yep, 94, Bloodline, which had Joe Bonamassa in it.
Yes, and that was the sons of the famous rockers.
Barry Oakley Jr.,
Yep.
who's now in Allman Betts right now.
Yes.
Yep, that's right.
And then you had Miles Davis's son.
Yep.
Right?
And then Sammy Hagar's son and Robbie Krieger's son.
Yes.
Then we got 94 is also Red Hush, which they've had a resurgence.
Yeah, they're still
So
going.
They're still going. They
Good for
Shane
them.
put the band back together, I think, last year, the year before. And,
Good for them.
And then
started doing
actually,
some
to be
stuff.
honest with you, they've always been
They've
together.
always been together. They just, take hiatuses, I think.
You know,
And then,
I've had this conversation with Shane before, and they still have like the original poster from their very first gig.
Yeah.
Like, he's an archivist. He keeps
yeah.
everything.
Everything. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, people might classify me as a hoarder, but I say I'm a collector. Okay.
absolutely. I thank God
I
you
keep
are,
a lot
because
of
this is
this
great.
stuff. I keep a lot of this
Yeah,
stuff.
but Shane is a great guy. I
Red
love
Hush, let's give
hanging
a
out
shout
with him.
out to Rome, New York. Those guys from
Yep,
Rome.
absolutely. 1996, Vinny and the Butchers.
Paul Angerosa.
Oh, God, what a band.
Legendary.
Yeah, Paul, Lenny, and Cremo. Robbie Cooper.
So the story on Robbie Cooper was he wasn't from this area, but he came in and put his roots down here.
Oh, yeah?
And he was part of a Genesis tribute band, may have been Over the Garden Wall.
Yep, that's what it was.
And then he came in. I mean, remember them at Captain Trips or Hot Rocks or whatever it was, 2005? Great shows.
Well, do you know who was in Over the Garden Wall, right? Jeff Adderman.
Jeff Adderman, of course,
Jeff
yeah.
Adderman. And we bring his name
Yep.
up a lot, too,
Nice.
because
Oh,
of
yeah.
Big Blue North.
I don't think I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Over the Garden Wall.
Yeah, yeah, phenomenal.
I was a big fan of Modus,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
his band. Oh, my God,
too.
were they great.
I pushed for them when I first started hanging out there at the studio recording and stuff. I would just be like, "So when's the Modus reunion? when are you doing it, man?"
Hey, what'd he say?
And he's like, "Oh, yeah, someday, like this, And like I would always catch him because I come around the corner in the studio and I always catch him like blasting Modus like over the big speakers and just sitting there and like you could tell it was like, you know, he's still into it. He still wanted, you know, and like I think they got back together and started recording again.
Yeah, they did.
You know, which is just awesome. I love that, man. It's just great. It's great. A lot of amazing bands in this area. But Mark Macri was 1996. Also Gridley Page and John Liebing. 1997, Case and Davidson. 1998, one of Joe Sweet's 8,000 bands that he's had in his lifetime, Joe Mama and the Funk Daddies, which I think was one of his more successful bands. My favorite song by him was "A Friend Gets Me High, a Friend Gets Me By." I play it every time I see him. I play it, just jam out because it's funny.
Good stuff.
1999, Rattlebasket and Calypso. Phil Arcuri, all right.
Yes.
Wow, I forgot about
the duo.
Calypso.
Yep. And then 2000 with Floating Noah. Yeah.
Floating Noah was a fun band.
Jimmy Hartnett.
A lot of great bands throughout the years. The 90s were flooded with bands.
Yeah.
A lot of clubs, too. A lot of places to play.
Yeah.
In the 90s, I really thought music was gonna stick in the area because I know that, like, for you guys, like, hearing all the stories in the 70s, it's almost like that time would never end. Like that. Okay, we got the best music there is now. There's no going anywhere from here. It's just going to be music like this for the rest of everybody's life, and just go with it. You know what I mean? Everybody's having a great time, and then the 80s came and ruined it, and then the 90s came and it was kind of like, okay, live music started to pick back up in the area. The bars were, everybody was having fun, and then 2000 came and destroyed that.
And then coronavirus.
Now what? You know what I mean?
Right. So you go back to the 90s where it was really vibrant. Well, we had a vibrant bunch of radio people that would go out and do a lot of these gigs. So, an old guy like me got to sit back a little bit and catch my breath. So Genesee Joe, Kenny, Z, Allison, the rest of our gang would be out there. T-Bone and Nick Mullen and Duke Austin and those guys. They'd all be out in the clubs, doing all these gigs. The Monday Night Football, doing all the band parties and stuff. And I'd wander in as the old guy, like, hey, what's happening?
No, we had some fun.
Yeah, it's so funny. I heard Genesee Joe on the radio always, and then one day I walk into the Auburn one night, and there's a band called Slug playing, and there's Joey Triz with his harmonicas. I'm like, what? I didn't know you played. I had no idea because I'd never really met him. You know what I mean? And it was one of those things. Another I don't know what were we talking about, like fanboy thing. You know what I mean? You hear these guys on the radio all the time, and then you get to meet them, and it's like, dude, I followed you forever. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those things. So I got to see him with Slug, but that's another band, man, that's been around for a long time. So shout out to Joey Triz and Slug, man,
for quite a while.
So there was a 3-volume on the CD that you had there?
It's 2 CDs.
2 CDs,
Oh, 2 CDs.
It's volume 3 because there's 2 albums and then the CD.
Copy that.
CDs.
All right, so you mixed it all together, and then you added some of the 90s in there, all the way to 2000.
Yeah.
Huh.
2000, Floating Noah was the
2000,
last one.
yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Hartnett. Shout out Jimmy Hartnett.
Jim.
They had a good run over there, too, with Floating Noah.
Oh, yeah.
And they had 2 parts of Floating Noah. The first years with Mike Borgia, an amazing singer-songwriter. Borgia's super talented. And then Mike Wagner came onto the scene and just lit the place up.
Yeah.
He was crazy. He would swing from the rafters.
Oh, yeah. We played a lot of shows with them.
Did you?
Yeah, back then when Mike Wagner took over and was in the band, and it was Mike and Jim doing the thing. We would play a lot of shows. Like we do some double bill gigs with them, and then there was times where we'd play where they'd have 5 or 6 bands, and we always happened to be it was either us and then Floating Noah or Floating Noah and then us, and so we all hung out together. We all just were always hanging out. So, and then they broke up, and
This is Showtime.
Yeah.
So
Showtime started. Jose Joe and I started in '94, but then we had a John Short in '97, and that's when we became Showtime. So we've been Showtime for 23 years, but the 3 of us have been together for 26 years.
What were you before Showtime?
Three-peat. There were 3 guys in the band, and we repeated music for the past. So that was our name. 13, 14, 15. I mean, we probably could have come up with a better name, but
man, when the Showtime 25th anniversary comes up, I think that's something that needs to be hosted at the Stanley.
I'm down with that. I mean,
so.
We don't have a lot of time to plan that. There's only 2 years now, so we had a great 20th anniversary show and concert. We sold out the showroom at the casino, which was really it was a phenomenal night, and you
had everybody come in that was
everybody's
past members.
Ever been a member of Showtime was there,
nice.
except for Ben. Ben wasn't there because I had to go play over in the Netherlands. Whatever. You know,
What's he thinking?
the hell is he thinking? But something really cool happened with that, though. We actually went to Ben's house, and he had a studio. Matt Wagner used to engineer over at Castle before it became Big Blue. Engineered the whole thing, and Ben did all the camera work, and we recorded. I'll just show you after. We recorded "You Found Me" by The Fray, and he did it all multi-camera views, and we all played. And it sounds like a studio recording, but we actually had a projection screen on stage, and Ben said something nice to the crowd, and then we played the video, and we got it. That's the only break that Joey and I got all night, because we're the only two that have been constant members throughout the years. So
amazing.
But it was it was a phenomenal show.
Yeah.
What was your first gig?
Very first gig, I remember both of them, because I should say for Showtime and for Three-Peat, we were asked to play a benefit at the Tony R. George Post in Herkimer, and I'm pretty sure it turned into a photography studio after, but it was like one of those American Legion type things. Very, very small place, but it was a benefit. And I went to shake Jose's hand before our very first gig together, and we completed the ground. And literally we're like this. And to this day we don't shake hands.
That's funny.
On stage. But we played Take It Easy. We played now this is 1994, so Hell Freezes Over had just come out. So we played Love Will Keep Us Alive, which was a brand new song then, written by Paul Carrick from Squeeze and all those bands. We played Proud Mary, and we closed the set out with Stairway to Heaven. 13, 14, and 15, and we did Stairway to Heaven. Jose had big index cards laying on the floor with the words like this. But
And I'm sure the guitar lead was perfect.
Oh, no, I didn't even play the guitar lead. No way. I was just a rhythm guitar player at the time, but there was only 3 of us, so we had to make do. So then I know we got to go. I'm sorry.
I've just wow, this goes by fast.
It does. The very first Showtime gig we had was at Ilion High School for a semi-formal dance in the gym. And that was the first gig with the 4 of us. And there's a picture floating around Facebook of, both bands. I had hair. So it's tough to write.
I remember one of the times that I saw you, and we actually had a chance to talk for a while about music, and I got a chance to just sit there and enjoy. Was at the Brew House in East Utica.
Oh yeah.
And you were doing a one-man show, and you had your pedals where you could repeat. Riffs,
I was
doing
looping then.
You were looping, and it sounded like 5 guys up on stage, and it's just you, but you looped it perfectly, and it sounded great. And I was amazed just to watch how you worked that in.
Yeah.
Like, this guy, he's been practicing. He's got this down. Fun days.
It's so funny. I used to love playing by myself back then. I can't stand it now. I get so much anxiety when I have to do solo gigs, which there's a lot more of them these days because it's very tough to book the band right now. But the solo gigs are more and more now, and I get so much anxiety with it now.
You still do the looping? I mean, Gary Johnson's the king at that.
Yeah, I kind of slowed down with the looping, and he kind of took it to another level. Because I would loop just for guitar solo purposes because I still wanted to play lead. Like I love playing lead guitar, and so I would do like if the second verse was the same chords for the solo, I would loop the second verse as I was playing it. And so then when I went into the solo, I just hit the play button after I record it, and then do my guitar lead and then come right back into the song. And it was like, nobody ever knew that I was recording it, but I was doing it on the spot. So that was kind of like my looping. And yes, I would do a couple things where I would do like harmony guitar solos and I just add another harmony part on and then do some like spacey stuff. I had a delay pedal, That's
great.
Just stuff like that. And like he took off with it. And now I'm kind of getting back into it a little bit. And when I got one of those Boss pedals, it was like $350, and it had 2 pedals on it. It was all I needed, and I played my first gig with it down in Ithaca, and it got stolen. The first time I used it, so now I'm just waiting to get another one. But yeah, it got stolen that night. I only used it once. It was brand spanking new.
God. What's your favorite song to play with Showtime?
Right now, my
favorite
song to play with Showtime, and believe it or not, it's not a Toto song. My favorite song to play.
I was gonna say Toto too.
My favorite song to play is "Under Pressure" by Queen.
Really?
Yeah, we do "Under Pressure," and it's something that if I'm having a rough night or if I feel like I'm uncomfortable in any way, it's one of those songs that has always uplifted me because by the time you're done with the song, you're breathing heavy because I mean you're grinding that whole last part. You're just everything's like like it's crushing it, and I was so happy that they decided to do that because I brought that to the band. I was like, I really want to do Under Pressure. I think we could really do it justice.
Nice.
So yeah, Jerry does the Freddie Mercury parts and I do the Bowie parts, so works out.
Great tune.
Yeah, definitely.
Great tune. Doc, you are a walking musical information
Oh my God, I
highway.
could sit here all night.
I'm glad we
Right.
had a chance to share some of this because sometimes I think, well, it's so far back. I don't know if a lot of people want to even hear about it anymore.
Well, him and I want to
Oh,
hear
yeah.
about it. I don't
Yeah,
care about everybody else.
Yeah, we literally brought you in here and decided to turn the cameras on for our own personal
Right, exactly.
entertainment.
Exactly.
Well, there's a lot to talk about, between Joe and Tom Starr and myself and Allison. You were there, Z, and Justin, you came in a little bit later on.
Yeah.
It was just such a magical time for us to just get together, the brotherhood of the musicians, the
Sure.
radio people, the club owners, the fans coming out to have a good time watching the bands and enjoying the music.
Yep.
It really was a real fun experience. I mean,
Yeah.
one I'll remember forever.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, but they could catch you on Sunday afternoons, right? Doing
I'm
the
doing
recovery
Sunday
room?
mornings, 9 to 12. Thank you for reminding me to plug that.
Yeah, of course.
The recovery room, after a
Love
busy
it.
Friday and Saturday night, you can recover with some great tunes. 9 to 12 on 92.7 FM, The Drive, where Genesee Joe is probably watching us while he's doing his radio show right now. And we do a lot of different things. This past week, we did hit song and then album track from the same band, double shots. We did the week before
very cool.
all songs with names in them.
Yeah.
So it's all
3
free
hours.
form.
Yeah. And
Like
then
the old
sometimes,
days.
sometimes there'll be no theme, and then other times there will be a theme. We do a lot of different things with the radio show. We have a lot of fun. The Recovery Room radio show, we're also on Facebook.
That's
Awesome.
And we talk about the old concerts, and we talk about what's happening with today's sports scores from last night. So we keep it kind of topical, but then the music's all basically 70s, 80s, some 60s, some 90s.
Going back into memory lane.
Yeah. And it's good because sometimes, how it is, music triggers a memory.
Oh, for
You
sure.
hear a
Always.
song, it's like, I remember when the guys from Tommy Two Tone came up to the studio and we talked to them, and there's nobody in the band named Tommy Two Tone. You find that out when you say, there's a Tom in the band. Are you Tommy Two Tone? Yeah, that's the nickname I got way back, but my real name was Tommy something else, Tom something. So, you trigger memories like that about the shows at the Casa Bogey and the 4 Acres and the clubs, the Stanley Theater and the theaters in Utica, and taking road trips to the Carrier Dome to go see Pink Floyd and stuff like that.
Oh,
Great. And hopefully we could get back to all that.
yeah.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, I would love that.
Feel like it's coming, right?
I feel like it's coming, but I also feel like when it does finally come back, I think people are going to be out there supporting more so
Yeah.
than they ever were.
Yeah, I would hope so. Because I think that we all did as performers and as and the audience members. I think that we all got to the point where we were almost taking it for granted. What we had and what we, you know what I mean? It's like, well, I can go see Gridley Page or Showtime next week at such and such a place. I'm just going to stick home now. I'm going to stay by the fire, this and that. And I think now it's like, man, I haven't seen these guys play in so long. I can't wait to, you know what I mean? And I think it's going to, it helps us as the artists and performers, and it helps the audience members as well, just like regain that sort of sense of normalcy.
Right.
But, hopefully we'll see that sooner than later.
Hopefully. We got to give a shout out to Linda, too. Linda was checking in.
Hey, Linda.
Hey.
Saying hello to all of us. She says Kevin Cronin's her birthday twin.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Mentioned and talking about REO earlier in the podcast. And
That's awesome.
shout out to Linda. I miss you very much, Linda. And
Yeah.
hopefully we can get back to doing some rocking and rolling at the Stanley pretty soon. I hope we can do a whole podcast on that one.
Another
Oh, yeah.
Stanley memory.
Too.
How about an Eddie Money show? And then he brought up an unknown band, first time away from their home in New Jersey, that came up in their van to open up for him. Maybe you heard of these guys, Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bon Jovi played in Utica a couple times.
Couple
They
times.
did Utica Odd.
Yeah.
And then they did Stanley. They opened up for Eddie Money. He still remembers a ton of stories. Just say, yeah, those guys, they're up and coming. I remember those days. So backstage, I gave them my plate of cold cuts so they could have some sandwiches.
We got to open up for Eddie at the Bogey.
At the Bogey?
Oh, yeah,
Bogey.
yeah.
We opened up for Eddie Money, and we were so excited. I'm like, yeah, we get to meet the Money Man, and like, not once did he come out of his bus. He was in his bus the entire time we were playing. There's a member of the band, I won't give the name out on the air, but there was a member of the band that Eddie Money's daughter had the hots for, and you can't guess which member of the band it was because we all had girlfriends at the time, but he would not. Like, she was hitting on him hardcore, and he would not do it. He was like, nope, I got a girlfriend. We just broke his balls for the rest of the time. Like, dude, come on, man. It's anybody's daughter, man. Come on. So, like, but that
a
was...
good man right there.
Jess Money, was that her name? She
Yeah.
came up for an interview.
Jess
with
Money,
Eddie.
yep.
And she sang with him on stage that night.
Yes.
She was great.
She was incredible,
I
yeah.
thought she was going to actually move on and record and do her own thing. But I haven't heard much about.
She chose to stay behind with her father. Like it was like kind of to be there for him because as he got older and stuff. I mean, like as he got older, he lost his voice. Obviously, like a lot of the older guys do. Bobby Kimball from Toto can't sing a note anymore, which is it's the saddest thing in the world. But I mean, even at the Bogey that night we played, it was like 2005, I think, or something like that. And he was, I got the crowd would go 2 tickets to paradise. Won't you pack your bags and leave? I've got and like the crowd was singing just about every word of every song. But it's Eddie Money, so the crowd's like, rah, I mean, they didn't care. I mean, he was a cool dude, man.
Sad to see. I heard David Coverdale from Whitesnake had a similar audience experience when he was at the amphitheater last year. A lot of people went, "Gonna go see Whitesnake." And I said, he didn't sing. He held the mic out.
Yeah.
He would talk to the crowd, and then when it came time to sing, I feel bad because those guys, I'm sure they want to sing and they want to knock it out of the ballpark.
Well, then you got a guy like Tommy Shaw from Styx, who is like 7,000 years old and sings like he's 20.
Right.
I mean, Bruce Dickinson's another one from Maiden, and he's still running
Jeffrey
around
Tate
the stage.
from Queensryche.
Yeah. There's a bunch of them still doing it, but then, of course, you do have the older ones that don't take care of themselves.
All right.
And that's part of the reason why they can't sing anymore.
Yep, exactly.
And then you got Mick Jagger, who denies all forms of science and says, "Hey, I'm still singing. I've been singing 50 years, and I still sound the same."
Paul McCartney, too.
McCartney was great at the Dome.
Right.
3 hours without taking a break.
At 75 years old.
Great.
Right?
Yeah.
Didn't even take a sip of water. Right. We were watching him on the big screen at the Dome playing. This guy is like unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a machine.
Yeah. And he was interacting with the crowd, having a good time.
Well, let's be real now. That's not Paul McCartney. Paul's dead.
It's a what do they call that?
That was the thing, right? Paul. Yeah, Paul's dead, and
Paul
like
is dead.
There's that. Yeah, there's that.
Play it
backwards, right? But there's that thing that there's like that Paul actually died in a car accident or something like that, and there's a stunt double.
Maybe it was a hologram. That was I was thinking of the word.
The hologram. Yeah,
it's going to be the next wave.
That's a huge conspiracy theory, though.
They called us when I was at the Stanley. They said we want to book this concert. It's a hologram concert of Roy Orbison. I said, how does that work?
Yeah.
He said, well, it's like a big movie screen, and we got band up there, and then he's kind of appearing in the movie screen with the band. Really? Have you tried this before? People are buying tickets to this? And I guess they tried it, but I don't know if it got off the ground or not.
There's a Ronnie James Dio hologram out there, too.
There is, yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty creepy to see it. You could search it on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
What is it, just like a song or a concert, or what is it?
He had a whole, like 5 or 6 songs. So they did this thing called The Disciples of Dio. And he had his backup band, like the guys that used to play with him. Minus the big guitar player, Vivian Campbell. Vivian Campbell wasn't with him. But,
yeah, he's toured with Def Leppard.
Right. And he would, they would play a song, and Tim the Ripper Owens would play a couple songs, and he'd, shuffle out, and then they'd have this Ronnie James Dio hologram out there doing his thing, and it's a little eerie, a little creepy, but it's still kind of cool. I think that's the way it's going to start shifting a little bit. Like, I could see Vegas being a hologram town.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
like
the Legends of Rock.
The Legends of Rock, Michael Jackson or Elvis or any of those.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Fran Cosmo's on like the last ever Legends of Rock tour that's going to be, because all those guys are so old. I mean, Fran sings better than everybody that's on that tour. So
right. You mentioned Bobby Kimball. Wasn't he out on that tour?
Bobby Kimball was out on that tour, but if you YouTube him now, I mean, it's sad, man. It's just you can't even laugh at it because, and then like YouTube and social media is so bad right now that it's on YouTube, people are commenting on this YouTube video of him singing about, oh my God, you should just know when to give up, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden, you see Bobby Kimball come on himself and write, guys, I apologize so much. I was having trouble with my monitors. And then he starts trying to give excuses, and then people are yelling at him, don't stop giving excuses. You can't hear, you can't sing. They're just tearing him right apart. And here's the guy pleading for people like, I'm so sorry. I'll work on it. I'm taking vocal lessons again, and blah, blah. And he's actually like. And it's just, it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. It's time marches on. You get to see guys like Lou Gramm at the time, one of the greatest voices of rock.
Yeah.
And then he kind of walked away from it after a while because he just wasn't able to hit the notes.
Right.
Yeah. Alpha Centauri keyboardist Andy Knoll was playing in Lou's backup band out in Rochester.
Oh, wow.
Central New York Connection.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
It. I love it.
Yeah, the guys from Hard Promises in Syracuse backed up Benny Mardones every time he came in.
Yeah, and it was the Hurricanes for a while they called themselves.
Yep.
Great
Benny and the
band.
Hurricanes.
Those guys are right up there. They rival with Showtime as some of the best harmonizing bands.
Sometime down the road, 20, 30 years ago, say, hey, you remember Showtime?
Yeah,
Those were a great bunch of guys.
Yeah, that
Saw
was.
them and they were
We've been
fantastic.
desperately trying to be like COVID hit and it kind of ruined everything, but we're trying to get a double bill that Showtime and Heart Promises can do together because we're all friends. And
That
we
would
used to
be
play. We
awesome.
opened up for not open up, but we had a triple bill at the showroom at the casino with Kane, which was what Heart Promises was before, and then they turned into Heart Promises. But we all know those guys, and like I'm friends with Kevin, the guitar player. We work on guitars together and stuff. It's fun, but they're incredible, man. And like,
Great band.
it'd be great to get the two of us together.
So it's a lot different now with original music and recordings. Like back in the day, you wanted to get some original music
Yeah.
from some of those bands. Why isn't it something that's more prominent these days with local bands and stuff?
I think well, at least in our area anyway, in Utica. I mean, I guess as a songwriter, you're so like critical of yourself, and like you're taking when you write music. At least when I write, I put everything that I am into what I write, and you're nervous enough to put it out there, you know. And I guess that like for me, this. I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, like Utica does not like the masses in Utica don't really latch on to original music. They want to hear music that they know.
Right.
So when you're up on stage playing, and we tried it both ways. We've tried. This is a song that we wrote, an original song or whatever, and you start seeing 5, then 10, then 25, and then before you know it, the dance floor is clear. Everybody's bellied up to the bar and talking, and you're playing a song that you poured your heart and soul into, and it's not their fault. They just want to hear something they know, you know. And we've even tried just mixing it into the set without announcing it, and the same thing happens. They don't recognize the song, so that time to get a beer, time to go, take a piss break, like that, and that's like, and it's not their fault. It's not the area's fault. It's just how this area is right now. It's like people want to hear music that they know, and So I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of people like Trampoline Jetstream. They're doing a lot with the online thing. Like that's all they're doing is writing music. These guys, and I'm so glad to see another generation like below me that's actually writing.
I've been doing it.
You know what I mean? And actually trying to take it forward. But with Twitch and Facebook and YouTube, you're able to get your original music out to the world rather than being like how we were with CDs and passing them out to people in Utica and hoping people would listen, you know?
You think of guys like John Liebing, who's been doing solo stuff, recording for a long time now. The last disc that came out is great, and you got him doing your theme song here.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a one of a kind.
He really is.
He's another one that should have made it.
He's a gem.
Yep.
But he still works at it, and he's proud of his originals.
Absolutely.
We played the summer song on the drive. It's the title from the new CD and stuff. It's great. John is just so talented. Did you ever think of like doing your own solo album?
I did the 5-song EP album that I did in 2007. I think you played a couple songs off of it.
Like I said,
Before.
my memory's a little bit shot
That's all
these
right.
days.
But do I want to do another one? Absolutely, because I mean, I literally
Well, that's
only
15 years ago. That's why.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
right.
literally only have 5 songs. I mean, I've written way more, and like we did a whole full-length Showtime album when Rocky was in the band. So it was, and the songs are okay. I mean, they're very dated. So like, I'd like to write something like I was so worried about like playing something that was pop-oriented and like trying to get to the listener, like the newer like kids to listen to it and stuff. And now I don't give a shit about that anymore. So I'm like, I just want to do like what I feel in my heart.
Yeah,
I'm
you got your
gonna write whatever
experiences
I feel, and
with your little boy.
yep. And I mean, and if you like it, you'd like it. If you don't, then I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm writing it for myself, and it's
Do
not
it
going to
for
cost
you.
me anything because I'm going to do it at my house.
Yep. Feed that creative soul of yours.
But
I would like to hear original music from the local bands.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like I said,
for sure.
Trampoline Jetstream, man, it's like their own genre of music. It's like they're not even, you can't even pick a genre that they would be in. It's like this song sounds like this song sounds like this song's world, this song's this, you know what I mean? It's like
Cool.
Oh my God,
They're
so
all
cool.
over the place.
Oh yeah,
They are. Great band. Love
and
those
they
kids.
play every day. They just literally go and jam every day with each
Every
other. It's
day,
like
yeah.
it's crazy.
Yep, they're out there.
Yep.
Love it.
But we got to do a part 2, man.
Yes, we should.
We gotta
I'll dig up some more stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Doc, thanks for hanging out,
Thank you.
man.
I'll bring some old ticket stubs and we'll look at the prices of concerts back in the day.
Oh, I know.
I don't wanna cry.
Back in the day, you're doing like $9 concerts.
Not
and
even.
Yeah.
Not even 96-cent concerts right
Yeah.
back then, too.
Yes.
Oof.
Even
Amazing.
some tickets I think were like $5, $6, $7.
Oof.
For Boston at the Utica. I'm like, what?
Right.
Really?
How'd they make money back then?
Yeah. volume.
Yeah.
Right.
And they were also making money off the records that they sold too back then.
That's true.
Yeah.
Which
the
now
record
you don't make
companies were
anything.
making money, and distributors are making money.
Yeah. Now the artists aren't making any money, and the CEO of Spotify is a billionaire.
Right. Ridiculous.
Literally stole money from every artist that is on Spotify.
No doubt.
And it's okay.
Wow.
It's on the way the music industry has shifted. It's a shame. I mean, the artists are the ones that get in the shaft. It seems like the artists have always gotten the shaft, but it's even more so now than ever.
And they say the big tours are where the money's at,
Yep.
and
the
big promoters are grabbing the money from the tours, and then they're just paying the bands. Like, here's your salary, come out on tour for the summer.
Right.
So the big promoters, the Live Nations, are grabbing, the big classic rock bands and locking them up. So when other promoters try to get them, sorry,
Yeah.
they're all locked up.
They're AEG, Live Nation, stuff like that. Man, well, coronavirus has kind of evened the playing field a little bit now, right? Unfortunately.
Well, they're not going to be able to come back and charge, $120 a ticket anymore. I'll tell you that, because it's just, it can't happen anymore.
What if they said, we're going to do a concert, but you got to be socially distanced, and instead of having 5,000 people outside, we're only going to have 1,000, but the ticket's going to be $150.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm just trying to think, how are they going to
I don't see personally, I don't see the social distancing thing lasting for the rest of our lives. It's just like,
they'll
once
have the
that
vaccine,
right.
You'll be able to protect yourselves.
Yeah.
Please come back soon.
Yeah, seriously.
You too, Doc. Please come back again.
Please.
Let's do this again. Let's do another
we'll do
volume.
it again. But what else we got to get? A little golf in.
Yes, definitely got to get some golf in. And then you headed back down to Florida soon?
I'll be back down probably December-ish.
December-ish?
Yeah, I had
come down and visit you.
I'd love to come down.
Great experience working for spring training for the New York Mets.
Your
team.
dream job.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's so cool.
How I landed into that was just I got a great job while the games were on for half of the 16-game season for spring training. Then they shut everything down.
Yeah.
But I lucked out. They did a big renovation of the field down in Port St. Lucie, $50 million complex renovation. I walked in, said, any opportunities? Are you hiring? They said, come on back, fill out an application. They called me in. They said, we got this. Or you could work with the media behind home plate, walk the umpires back and forth, the photographers back and forth, check passes of the media, and hang out back there and make sure, no unauthorized people are roaming around in the complex. And I said, where is it? And they said, right behind home plate. I said, I'll take that job.
Yeah, right.
What a great job.
Now, you had a fanboy there a little bit, right?
Well, here comes Dwight Gooden and David Wright and Eddie Kranepool and Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling. But they told me on the way in, none of that. No autographs, no photos,
you're not allowed to do that. Yep.
No
fraternizing.
Jumping in the dugout to take selfies.
You should do that the last day.
I
Like
snuck
when you
a
decide
few
you're gonna
in.
leave there.
I got a few in.
Yeah.
I actually talked to Dwight Gooden. I said, you were in Utica last year, January, for a card show. I said, I got to talk to you there. We had some pictures and stuff. He says, I remember coming up to Utica because it was so cold in January.
He did a couple games in Little Falls with the Little Falls Mets.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Right on.
It's great. They got new owners now.
Great gig for you, though.
Yeah, it was a great gig, and
It's
we're going to see if the new owner starts spending some money buying some players. We'll see.
We'll see what happens. Well, hopefully baseball gets back to full swing again. I haven't even watched any baseball this year.
How about hockey? Watching any hockey?
Well, tonight actually is Game 6.
Yeah.
Right? Is it Game 6 tonight? Yeah, the Tampa and Dallas.
Yeah.
And then is anybody even watching the NBA? I know I'm not.
I'm not. And it's tough to watch football with the Giants going 0-3.
Yeah, it's tough to watch.
Bills are 3-0.
Yes.
It's
The
tough to
Bills
watch.
are
I
3-0.
mean, I'm happy for Buffalo fans.
Hey,
I have a
it's
brother in
about
Buffalo.
time.
Give them something to cheer about.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, especially this fan base. I mean, the Bills Mafia, man, is where it's at. I'm telling you right now.
They paid money to get a plane to fly over with a congratulations. We're still pulling for you. Let's go, Bills.
Right? Yeah.
They did.
Did they really?
They did.
I didn't even see that.
The Mafia.
The Bills
bought it.
Mafia. Yeah.
It's like $5,000. They all chipped in.
Oh, that's so awesome.
That's funny.
So they're 3-0.
They are
They're
3-0.
going all the way.
Good stuff.
The Jets and Giants aren't going to do it. That's for
No.
sure.
No,
Not so far.
definitely not. Doc, good hang. Let's plan another one before you go down to Port St. Lucie. There's so much. I wouldn't even scratch the surface, but definitely
you.
got to. Thank you
Justin.
for everything.
Absolutely.
You're a gem in this community, Doc. So
Thanks.
check out the recovery room Sunday mornings.
Sunday morning.
9 a.m.
9 till 12.
9 to 12. 92.7 The Drive. Shout out to Gen Z Joe, too. He's doing a great job programming that station.
Yeah.
He's doing a great
Dare
job.
to be different.
Yep.
Yep.
He's doing very, very well. Shout out to EJA Moving Services, attorney Dave Longaretta, Utica Coffee, and Saranac Brewery. If not for our sponsors, this podcast is not possible. Thank you so much. Justin, where are you playing this weekend? You got any gigs this weekend?
Yes, Thursday I'm playing Babes for their Oktoberfest from 6 to 9.
Cool.
And then Friday, Showtime Trio will be at Fratello's in Frankfurt.
Cool.
Then I got a wedding on Saturday, so you don't need to know about that.
Right on. I'll be back on Wednesday with drummer Mitch Eckler from the Old Maid.
yeah.
He's
All right.
coming on and chopping.
I love Mitch, man. Tell him I said hi,
He's a
definitely.
good guy.
All right, Mitch.
Good guy, for sure. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Later.
Peace.
Thanks.